Hey guys, it's your boy Louie G, and I'm here for a collector showcase. We're here at the home of Radcliff, and he has an unbelievable Star Wars collection. So let's go on real quick and see if he's home. Hey, what's going on, Rob?
Hey, Louie, how you doing?
All right.
Hey, come on in, guys.
Hey, Rob. So what do you got behind these doors back here?
Pretty extensive collection of Star Wars 3 3/4 inch and 6 inch Hasbro series toys.
Look at that. From top to bottom, even in totes. Don't want to miss anything. Meg, just go ahead and walk us through.
All right. This here is I call my Disney side. This is where the Disney Store titanium exclusives have been coming from. As you can tell, they're kind of in disarray. As you buy more and you find you lose space, so you have to excuse the mess. But this is where I keep all the Disney and the assorted Star Wars stuff. On the back wall is where I've got all my signatures from all the way from Billy D. Williams to Mark Hamill, even Carrie Fisher. A lot of filler. Put sound in there.
Yeah. I'll break it up a little bit.
Now with all the signatures, I've gotten them personally, so I haven't bought anything on eBay or secondhand or anything like that. It's actually been with that person at the booth. Some of the funny things is when you do that, you get to meet the people that you've idolized for many years, and they're just regular human beings. And I think that's most rewarding, not even just having the signature, but meeting them and interacting with them for it's a short time, but you still get a sense of how they are. And on my signature for Mark Hamill, there's 3. He's got them in 3 different colors because I couldn't pick out which color I wanted because they have a bevy of markers. And I said, well, I don't know which one I want, Mark Hamill. So he said, well, I'll just mark it down 3 times. So he wrote it all 3. Come to find out, he's also a lefty. So my son's a lefty, and I hate them all.
Did he charge you three
He
times?
did not. He did not. And interesting enough, for the I don't know if that one's up, if you could see it, but the one from Ray Park.
I saw it.
That was one of the first ones I got, and Darth Maul was my daughter's favorite character. When we were getting him to sign that one, we had said, hey, our daughter, wishes she could be here. You were her favorite character. He just broke out and signed one for her and gave it to us and said thanks. It's simple as that. It's just really nice to interact. If you've ever met Ray, you talk to him and he's like your best friend. It's like a long lost cousin that you haven't talked to, and every one of them's been that way.
We follow him on Instagram. He's got some crazy workout routines.
Yeah, he does. If he just keep his hair color, we'd be all right.
What you got up here?
This one here. This here is a Kowakian monkey, also known as Salacious B. Crump. We were fortunate enough to get a reservation for the first day at Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland, and we bought these. This is specifically for my wife. Doesn't do a lot. He sits on your shoulder and his beak goes up and down, and then he makes a noise. But it's still really, really nice to have. If you want to.
And you got them all caged up.
It's set up like a cage.
I'm gonna call PETA. They're like, look, he's out here beating no
this
water.
Plastic piece.
It's hot.
With the Kowakian monkey. He goes on your shoulder, and this thing is a little magnetic piece. It goes on his butt.
Oh, wow.
But his head turns. little puppet.
So you like run this through your shirt or something?
You put this underneath, and he sits right on like a parrot.
So he looks like
And you walk around, and it's a real simple mechanism, but it's really a cool piece.
Nice.
And he comes in a cage, so they really for Disney, they if you haven't been to Galaxy's Edge, it's totally immersive. I mean, they get a 10+. I mean, it makes you feel like you're there. We'll put him there. We'll go to some of the bigger 6-inch. It's not a 6-inch, but it's the AT-ACT from Rogue One, which are really nice because it was a total talking with Mark, the developer, the guy that did the Millennium Falcon. He's a designer at Hasbro. He said that they had to redesign them all because it's motorized. So the thing walks on its own, and it also goes in. There's an app on your phone, so you can hook in the app. But I don't take anything out, so I'll never know. This is one of the nicer 6-inch San Diego Comic-Con exclusives with Jabba the Hutt with the Salacious B Chrome on the side. If you notice on this inside, there's a little spot there for Han Solo.
Yeah.
And I'll show you why in a little bit. Remember that. Hold that one thought.
All right.
Now here, since I go to San Diego every year and I talk to the Hasbro guys, and they've seen me and we kind of have a rapport, they let me know that this here is the Grand Admiral Thrawn figure, the 6-inch exclusive. Now, if you take a look at it, right, these are all this is his trophy room. Now, if you take a look at this, it's kind of odd, right? It's a little cup.
Yeah.
Do you know what that cup is?
What he took snatched out from Jesus or something?
It is. It's a Easter egg for the Grail.
Yeah.
So you've actually got a Grail. So that's it. People don't really notice that, but that's the Grail from from Indiana Jones.
Yeah. I remember from the the Last Crusade.
There you go. So they put that in there, and I believe it was in the cartoon as well.
Nice.
But this is a really nice piece. They did a really fantastic job on it. Oh, good thing for editing. Yeah, I had like. There we go. All right, now we'll move into. San Diego Comic-Con 2019 is a week past. I picked up a couple exclusives from there. The number two most wanted exclusive was the Sith Trooper, which comes out as a Crimson, but he's got the First Order head. And then he comes out with these little side guns, which, I haven't seen the movie yet, so I don't know what they're all for. But it looks pretty cool to begin with. And these are first to market figures. So no matter what, I always had the first run. The same follows suit for the Gen Urso. When Rogue One opened, the first figure that came out was the Gen Urso. So this was first to market as well. Only sold at San Diego Comic-Con 2017, was it?
So if we hold this figure, other than the boxing, and we hold, let's say, the Black Series, what's the differences? Because she almost looks the same.
It all depends. On the earlier Black Series, they used regular molding for the face. Now they're using photorealistic. Okay, so they're doing a lot of that now, so it doesn't look. Well, she's kind of googly-eyed, but still.
Eyes cocked like a pistol.
Eyes cocked like a pistol. You don't know where she's looking, but just what they add to it, and the design is much better. Right. And what a lot of people don't realize is when they do these, they put little stuff in the back. In fact, I had the Sith Trooper. I'll show that one, but that's got a little book in the back. I had the Sith Trooper for 2 years, and I didn't realize there's a little book in the back.
Oh.
And because I don't open, and I put them away and keep them nice. See, you got all my collection messed up now. But in the back, on this Stormtrooper, there's a book. You can actually take out the book, and it runs through like the old school this is the evolution of the trooper, so you can
Oh,
lift
so
it up,
got
and you notice that
the add-ons.
you can add ons to it. So for each one, and there's a little book. So if you actually own one and you don't ever open, look behind it, because there's a lot of stuff that the designers put in that they don't tell you. For example, during the last year's display, if you go on YouTube and look at last year's display, they had a Millennium Falcon in the 6-inch scale, and the first thing I looked for, being a fan, was the dice. Actually, it was 2 years ago in the cockpit, and they didn't have it in there. So when I came up and told them, "Hey, where's the dice?" they were kind of like, "You're the only one that said something." But there's a lot of detail, because they knew there had to be dice, but it was running so late to get it out the door that they didn't put the dice in. Now with the Jabba the Hutt, I said make note of the little heart and carbonite. Well, this was done the year prior to this one, and I want to say this was 2014. This was made a year before the Jabba, but they had it in mind when they were doing the Jabba. They would put a spot to put him.
Put that in there. That's so dope.
So it's those inside things, and the designers and stuff that don't tell you. So you kind of, if you pry it out of them, or you go on the internet, look at the guys doing the interviews with the designers, and they'll tell you, right off the bat. But this is a lot different than the other Boba Fett, because he's got a rocket pack and he's got both pistols.
Right, that's nice.
So, and then you got to watch out for these as a collector, because these get, depending on which one, if it's loose, is more valuable. This one's more valuable than the regular 6-inch series that came out. Pay attention to the colors. Sometimes the colors on these is more in depth than what you would find in a regular run of the 6-inch figures.
Even like I've noticed, just because I purchased one of the Boba Fett from the black series, the black and red box, right? The orange with the orange line, and then you got, for instance, the archives.
Yes.
Totally different in paint.
Correct.
Almost the same molding, but if you look at the helmets, really different. Paint's different, and the overall figure feels a lot different.
There's a couple different reasons for it. One, they may want it, and two, they use different manufacturers.
Right.
So just if it takes a lot to manufacture these things, so they may not be from the same plant. It may be, they may put the order in with one company, and that company owns 4 different plants, and each time it runs, it may run it from a different plant. Now with the coloring, we'll use this one as an example. This was the most recent Comic-Con with the 6-inch 40th anniversary Boba Fett. His head color is a little bit different, and if you look,
well, they went on that one, I believe. Didn't they go for the?
You can notice it's obvious, especially in person, the difference in the colors, reds. He's totally green, but this was a throwback for the original.
Right, for the original figure.
The original figure. So you really, as a collector, especially if you're new to collecting, you got to pay attention to the little nuances, because there's some people that will take advantage of you if you don't know the difference. That's why it's such my favorite for the 6-inch. And if you guys haven't seen this, is the Obi-Wan. Have you seen the Obi-Wan?
Yeah.
Usually keep them closed, and they put in Ziploc or Velcro on them. Well, this is really cool because it's Obi-Wan when he's getting the message from Princess Leia. This is what starts it. Now, talking with the designers at the time, they actually had to go back and get the masters for this and clean it up, and this is taken directly from the masters. So if you actually push the button, it lights up.
You're my only hope.
Nice.
And turn. But I like it because it's the only battery powered one so far, and they've thought about the collector, because you can actually take this out and display it without the card, and if you're running it, you can actually pull the battery out.
So it allows you to change the battery without taking. Nice.
So you and that was something that the designers and the guys that make the toys realized. They're like, these guys aren't taking these things out. Now, some of the differences like we were discussing about differences. Now, the X-34 Landspeeder, this was last year's, I keep saying they all blend in, so if I get them wrong, I apologize. That was 2 years ago, exclusive, and it comes and he's a little bit dirtier. But if you look at when it comes out in the regular, because that's a Comic-Con exclusive, this here, you notice he's got his
little poncho on.
His little poncho on, and that's a little bit dirtier. It's meant to look like it's been through there, and it's a design.
Mm-hmm.
This one here is basically on the box, kids to play with, but we know that ain't gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
So you've really got to pay attention, even though they're probably taken from the same molds. That's what you're looking at. And then that is most of my exclusives for the 6-inch. And the only one I'm missing is the Gamorrean Guard. And I was going to get it signed because the guy that played the Gamorrean Guard was at Toy-Con, and I was like, nah, and I forgot about it, and then I was mad. All right, we'll go to the next one here. This was 2012 Comic-Con International Hasbro exclusive. Now, this is set up as though it's the Carbonite Chamber from Episode 5, correct? Empire Strikes Back. It's got the different size, or the different colors on the cards, which is dramatically different from what's been seen previous or since. So when you see these, you know that it's come from there, and they had a wave that came out for that. What I really liked about this was the fact it's kind of big, it's bulky, takes up a lot of real estate, but what they did was phenomenal. Here we have the Jar Jar, and he's doing his little thing, but you can open up the top, and inside you can pull out, and it is Jar Jar in Carbonite.
Nice.
Graded these things. This has been out of this container maybe 3 times. This is number 3. So graded. If you have it, you know it's mint condition. $300 easy. So you kind of take care of those. That is one of it's more of a pain, because if you've ever been to a convention, especially San Diego,
I was gonna say, carrying that thing around.
Yeah, I had 4 of them. I bought 4, for friends and whatnot. But you're carrying bags. I've got Hasbro bags for days, and you're carrying them, and there's 150,000 people in this thing, and Hasbro's right in the middle. So you get it. People are trying to kick. So you learn to walk and do some shrugs. We'll move Boba over here. Boba happens to be my favorite character, but for my collection, I basically only kept it to 3 3/4 inch figures until the 6-inch came out. There's so much Star Wars stuff, you can't collect everything. You're a hoarder at that point. You're a cat person. So I've kind of kept it down to 6-inch figures. So a majority of them are, but since they've been spitting out so much 6-inch that are just wow. There's not even a word to explain it. They're coming out and they're doing these things specifically for the collector. I really punched up the 6-inch game. There's only a couple I'm missing. I've got a complete box of the last one. I just haven't opened them up. We'll go to here. We'll switch this one. This here is a one of a kind. This is created by Hasbro, the development team at Hasbro that was creating the vintage collection. During last year's San Diego Comic-Con, 5 of the designers walked out and they had these things folded up and they handed them to us in the audience. I was a member of the audience, handed them out, and then as they were talking about the project they were working on, the person out in the audience was revealing what it is they were talking about. So I happened to get the one for the Death Star Gunner. So this was a one of a kind from Hasbro development team to tell everybody that they were doing the Death Star Gunner vintage series.
So it was like a little teaser. They wanted you to open up to see what
exactly. We
nice.
Didn't know it was. Nobody knew what they were going to be doing for the vintage collection. So they had them made. They made these. It's not the greatest quality, but it's a good job. It looks like they fiberboarded it and put something really nice on there. But they folded it up, and then the audience did the reveal. So I happened to be the one that got it, and it cost me nothing, but I'll have it in my collection forever. It means more to me. So it's sentimental value now, because I can buy a $500 figure but it doesn't have that
Yeah.
that memory, because every time I see that, I remember that con.
They try to stop you when you're walking out. Like, sir, need to return our prop back.
No, I was bigger than him.
Okay.
Yeah, they know how the fans are. Okay, we'll go here along the mixture of the 6. This is the regular wave 6-inch figures. I have them on their side because it takes up too much. I have, I want to say 6. How big are those? 6-inch? 12? No, 8-inch. These are 8-inch wide, so I have too much space in the back. But it would show nicer, but I couldn't put up as much.
Right.
So I just tip them on their sides, and for me, I don't come in here every day and look at them, but I can look and see what I'm missing. So
Right.
that's the best part, is you can look and see what you're missing. I'm missing a lot. If anybody knows and sees this, and shoot me an email down in the comment section. I'll be monitoring this as well. But only do it on the cheap. But you're going to have a really nice place to store your figures. These are, I'm not even sure what to call these. These came out a couple of years ago, and they were 3 3/4, and there was the new ones they had doing for Hasbro, and they did it for a short period. But there's 6 sets for one of the 6. I wouldn't, for the prequels and for the regular Empire or Star Wars Empire and Jedi. And I actually just completed it after a couple years with a guy at Star Wars Celebration. You want to get in there? Yeah. But it spells out, if you haven't seen it, it spells out Star Wars.
I'd seen them. They were kind of high when I first saw them, and then I think like
20,
a month ago.
$20-$30, I think is what
they were. At the time, they were doing like $40.
Yeah.
And then I just saw them the other day. It was like 1 or 2 loose. They were like, yeah, $20. I was like, nah, I'm good.
I'm a completionist. Once I buy it, I've got to keep going,
yeah.
and it sucks. Trust me. This is one of the newest members of the family here. I got this and the Obi-Wan from the lottery at Hasbro during the 2019 Star Wars Celebration in Chicago. Got lucky enough, went out, won the ticket, and as soon as I bought these, I touched it, I drooled over it a little bit, because these are, if you don't know, this is the original card, or not the original, this is the design of the original card for the 3 3/4 inch. Then they bumped it up, and then they made it, very holographic and glossy, and made these in 6-inch, and they're really, really nice. I figured, especially with like the Luke X-Wing, how much those things are, I wanted to get it protected, because these are really popular with the collector. I got lucky and I got both of them graded at 90s, which is near perfect. 95 is the, I've never seen 100. 95s are kind of rare. I was very happy with a 90. Just showed you the Boba Fett. This was this last weekend's Comic-Con from San Diego, which is really cool, 40th anniversary. The back is the same, and it's got, it's got old Billy D in the back. Got Lando, who, by the way, is a really nice guy. I met him too. 3 3/4. The Walmart exclusive Sand Trooper, and then this also was an Walmart exclusive. For some reason, they didn't put the sticker on there. I guess Walmart's getting cheap. I couldn't afford that sticker. Some of the other, some of these are stuff I found in the clearance aisle. The Evolutions are part of a group I saw on eBay. I can't even tell you. Some of them I know I got at Toys R Us when Toys R Us was going goodbye, which was the best time for collectors. Below that, if you ever get a chance, a lot of people don't. Disneyland, Disney's owns Star Wars now. They're integrating a lot of stuff for, which they've been doing for years, Star Wars weekends and whatnot. This is the world's most expensive thing of popcorn, but it was like $25 for that and popcorn. My wife likes popcorn, and so that was a piggy bank for a while. $25, bro. But it's an R2 and he's a popcorn. And when I tell you that I spent $30 on the mouse droid, you'd think the same. Now this was San Diego. This is another exclusive this year from San Diego Comic-Con.
I like that one.
Yeah, it is
Kind of
really
like the
nice.
evolution of Luke Skywalker, I guess.
You just got to have geriatric old man one now.
Yeah.
And behind it, that was last year's. So that was the first appearance of Dr. Alpha from the Vader comics. They were released, what, 2 years ago? 3 years ago? So that was the first ones for those. And then they just recently kicked her out in a 6-inch series, which are in that box. I haven't even opened it yet. Now, this was the pain. And I say there's a story here. Most of the Star Wars fans know that when they opened up Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland, California, to get in, you had to have a reservation. Well, to get that reservation, you're going to have to stay at one of the 3 Disneyland hotels to get that reservation. Well, I'm a fan. I wanted to be there on opening day. You know, I wanted to see it. I wanted to be part of that history. So me and some friends, we rented a room at the Disneyland Hotel, got our reservation, and spent the next, day at Disneyland to buy these. This is a really cool set. And a lot of people are going to complain because, let's face it, they do put a lot of repacks in there. This is obviously not a redesigned C-3PO or R2 or a BB-8, but the next one is DJ Rex. Yeah. Now, any fan of Disneyland that's ever ridden Star Tours knows that Rex was the original pilot on Star Tours for many, many years. So when they did the remake in 2011, they took him out and they added a new droid. But they took out Rex. But when they opened up Galaxy's Edge and they made a bar and they've got a DJ, they brought back Rex. So now he's a DJ Rex. So it's those little hidden things. But when they did that, they also went and talked to Paul Rubens, who's the original voice of Rex, who happens to be Pee Wee Herman.
Oh, that was a question?
Yeah, it was a question.
I'm sorry, I already know Pee Wee is.
Pee Wee Herman. So he went back and redid the voice. So now when you go into the cantina and you see DJ Rex, it's actually the original voice of Rex.
Gotcha. Did he go,
Not yet. All right, now, this one here was the second set. It was, again, this is I'm not sure of the weaponry. I don't really keep track of the weapons, but I know these are just repacks for the Chewbacca, Rey, and the Porgs. And the Porgs were in the smaller sets. Remember those? Mm-hmm. So these were essentially a repack as well. But it's the Hondo Anaka, which is in the Rebels TV series, voiced by Jim Cummings. Okay. I wanted that one, and it came in there. And since I don't take them apart, I'd rather buy the whole thing. And to be honest with you, there's $60, I think $60 or $70 for the set. And if you're a collector and you want something nice, you might as well just go out and get it. What's $60 in 3 years when you got a story, right?
Yeah.
Now, because oh, that's not the one I wanted. Let me see. Shit. Well, now I get to buy another one. Not worried about it. All right. You better edit that out. Happens all the time.
I'm sure.
Well, that one fell because I hit it or something, but it happens. As long as the figures are fine. This one here is the as a Commander Pyre. I'm assuming that's what, I haven't heard anything new, but they also kicked out the droid. So there's a droid in the 6-inch series, and then the Kylo Ren. Now the Kylo, he's got the plastic cape, but in some of the previous exclusives, he's got a regular cloth cape. Not a big fan of Kylo, but I'm a fan of the series, so I ended up buying this one as well, just to say that I had it.
Nice. He's like the pimp of.
He is. He's gold, man.
He's all shiny and whatnot.
Yeah, he's a pimp. He's a
out
pimp.
Here pimping out here in these galaxies.
Now, let's see. Books. Collectors don't know everything. I don't know. I've collected for years and I don't know. So what I've done is I bought a series of Super Collector's Wish books. Now what these are is the guy that's put it together. His name is I think his name is Jeffrey Carlton. He has taken pictures, and he takes pictures from collectors, from items, and puts them in the books. So the first series of books has the original vintage series and stuff like that, and then has the variants. So you can actually go through, if you have any questions, you can go through the book and look and say, oh, this has 3 different variants. And these are the kind of, prices aren't accurate because I use it as a reference.
Right.
So with the book, you know, the figure isn't going to change from 5 years ago. So you can actually use the books to see what variant you have, see what's missing, what's going on with it.
I wonder if they have an online book.
Not one that I've seen. There's a couple. Hasbro Pulse was doing it horrible because I would come in and try to update my collection, and half of them didn't read. So then I got tired and said, screw it. The books are usually, I read the books. Those are legit. Somebody spent time, and it's for the collectors. So if you, just a shout out to the guy, if you can see him online or whatever, and you're interested in Star Wars collecting, the thing's got everything. Now you're going to have to buy the whole set, you know, because, you know, as he would print out a book, new series would come out, but it was still, I think they're $20, so it really wasn't bad. The Jocasta Nu from Brian's Toys, and then the vaulted version. Since I don't open them, this was bought by my mother-in-law or my wife, and she's like, "Well, I just spent $80 on a book you'll never open."
The struggle is real, folks.
The struggle is real. The bottom here, this is all my 3 3/4 inch figures. Excuse me, I'm going hoarse. Basically, these are exclusives, not too high priced exclusives, just stuff that I didn't have a place for. So, you know, the R2KT, the pink, you know the story behind R2KT, right?
No.
R2KT, this was an exclusive. I guess if I'm remembering it right, the story's on here, but it was a member of the 501st, the costuming organization.
Right.
His daughter had, I want to say, leukemia, but she was a Star Wars fan, and while she was in the hospital, they got together and they made her a pink one. Oh. And then when you bought this, a majority of the money for the R2KT went for the charity.
Ah.
Yeah, so that's something that was really cool, and I remember I bought it directly from I believe it was from Lucas Online or Hasbro Online.
Yeah, I remember
So when you see
I see those guys all the time.
You
like
do, well, because they don't ever tell you. So if you ever see a pink R2 unit, just remember her name was Katie, so they called it KT.
Ah.
And then the holiday Darth Vader, the one everybody hated from 2005, they put it. I bought it, and I was like, yeah, I don't like him. He looks like a lollipop. He looks absolutely horrible. But it's, since I was a collector, and you know,
you got to get those odd ones sometimes.
You got to. So, and I was like, well, this will be the last one for this row. I picked this up in Puerto Vallarta. I was, if anybody's ever been to Mexico or to a port town, you realize that when you get off the boat, there's people trying to sell you stuff, right? You're inundated with it. We happened to be at a beach area, you know, they had Senor Frogs and whatnot. Well, I was wearing a shirt and, you know, Vader on it, and this guy was like, hey, come here, come here. And I was like, I don't know. And he goes, no, your shirt. And I was like, okay, now you got me, because I knew I was wearing a Vader shirt. So I went up, and he's in a little store, and it's got a little, little hallway, a little black hallway. I was up, 2 in, 1 out, man. Somebody's, but he was.
That's how you lose a kid.
That's how you lose a kid. Oh, right now that'd be great. As you walk in, he had a little wood bench, and the guy was whittling out stormtroopers and Darth Vader. And I think it cost me like $20.
Yeah.
So he was whittling these things out, and I was like, wow, it's a story that I'll have forever. It's not worth anything.
I used to have a Pink Panther one when I was a kid. Every time we would go to Tijuana and you're at the line for the border.
But he moves, and the guy, you can distinctly see that it's a
wooden puppet.
It's a wooden puppet. But
it's one of a kind. You're not going to find another one.
You're not. And,
I'm sure it took the guy probably hours and hours to cut that for $20.
And I argued with it. So no, I'm kidding. I saw it, and I was. I don't ever argue if I know it's a good deal. I'm not going to try to screw you out of something, especially if I know the values on it.
Yeah.
The Bounty Hunter exclusive.
I was looking at that.
They returned this because. So originally, when they came out with these figures, they had the names mixed up. So they kind of went back to doing that for these. So for the 30th anniversary, Forloom became Zuckuss, and then Zuckuss became Forloom. And Forloom is for the love of money, if you didn't know that.
Gotcha.
At the top, I've got the AMT figures, and when you become a collector, or you kind of become mindful of like when sales are going on. When KB Toys went under, they were selling everything for $5. So I got the Star Destroyer, the Millennium Falcon, Speeder Bike, Vader's TIE Fighter, all these for $5 a piece. So I walked out at 5, 10, 15, 20, 20, it was like $40. I walked out with all those models. Now I don't open. I think I did the ad, it broke open, but I was always looking for deals. There's
So
no sense
you're
in paying.
not going to build the models?
No.
Even though they look super dope, like hanging on.
I'm in a room that if anything touches, it drops. It would be in a million pieces.
I got you.
And I like the look of them. You know, I have them. They're out of the way and they're not taking up too much space. The top, basically here is the Disney Star Tours. I did those. I'm keeping those separate because Disney doesn't put them out as often, but they're still nice figures. Originally for the Star Wars Star Tours, they had droids. These droids here, and a lot of people don't collect them because it said Star Tours, but it's got Star Wars, and it's part of the series now. I would say. And then this here was the guy. He's still there. In fact, he's the one that's talking to everybody. Mm-hmm. And since I'm such a huge Disney fan and Star Wars fan, that the G2 means it was Goose 2. These figures were actually geese in America Sings at Disney. Mm. So instead of building new figures, they just ripped off the gooses, gave them the G name, and put them up in Star Tours because that's how cheap Disney is. Just as an FYI. The rest are pretty simple, just regular figures. This one, if you feel, well, these here, at the opening of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, we had special maps that came out, and this is embossed and laminated. Well, you can't really see it, but if you feel it, they're textured, so they are put them out the first day.
Nice.
So a couple of them found their way in my bag.
Funny thing.
Well, they're free too.
Well, yeah.
So they're free.
Uh-huh.
And I don't even think I have it. During the opening of Star Tours, the original Star Tours in '87, my cousin worked there and got me in on the opening day for the cast members. And I have the ticket. I just don't know what I did with it, but there's a ticket up there.
Good thing is I'm on the pole.
You are on.
That didn't sound right.
No, it did not.
I'm gonna edit that thing out real quick. I'm in Vegas. I'm on the pole.
I'm on the pole.
Eee.
All right, we'll work our way right there.
Yeah.
Those are like mini collectors. That was just a thing for me to remember. There was a Hasbro or a Walmart store that was closing. I got them for like $3. Because I'm a collector, and this is pretty much the only thing I collect is Star Wars. It's hard to. I think I'm gonna screw up because it's hard for people to buy for me. You know, Christmas and birthdays and stuff like that. My daughter started buying me the keepsakes. She got them on sale, and then she got me a handful of them, real, on sale or cheap. And then every year when I go to San Diego or another convention, I'm usually buying the exclusives. So that's an exclusive. That's an exclusive. This here is a 2-piece salt shaker. Have you seen that salt shaker?
Yes.
Okay, so it comes in 2 pieces. So the bottom is salt, the top is pepper, and then it separates. So it's like in the movie. Really, really cool detail. The original Star Wars game. They're just now doing the. I think you can see it. They're just now. Target did the throwback video game. You remember that one? The escape room? Yeah, that's an original.
Nice.
Picked that up in all places at four corners. If you've ever been to the Mojave Desert, I was stationed up in Ridgecrest for a couple of years. I was driving down the 14 to go somewhere, and there's a little antique store, and I pulled in, and sure enough, there's the video or the board game for $15-16. No idea what they had. Going along the top of the 40th anniversary series, the only ones that I'm missing out of here is the X-Wing Luke. And I had the opportunity to buy one from Steve, we know Steve, and it was a fair price, and I was like, nah, I think it's going to go down. Well, it doubled, and
it now sits at the store for
now it sits at so now
change.
it's set at the store for whatever, but hey, that's its thing. This here is the only Ewok I had, and like most collectors, it's nice when you can walk into a store that you've never been. Hopefully no other collector's been in there, and you find a treasure. I found this at the Mall of America, right off of Las Vegas Boulevard, down south, south of the, just by, you can probably edit this out, but South Point. Found it, I was just walking around, they had some junk, and I moved it around. I was like, that's an Ewok, that's mine. So after negotiating, I think it ended up costing me $60. It's not in the greatest condition, yellowing card, or yellowing bubble, and then the price tag on it, but the card is still in really good condition.
How many times are you going to be able to find one in the wild?
I know, right?
That's the thing that people don't get. I mean, yeah, my card may be a little, but the story that goes behind it half the time, you know?
It is crazy. The rest of it is for the Power of the Force, you know, the He-Man Luke and whatnot. I did those because they're relatively cheap. You know, there's nothing more annoying than going out and not finding what you're looking for. But if I knew that they had one of these and I didn't have it, I'd usually buy it. 9 times out of 10, I would buy doubles because I got so many. It's hard to keep track unless you have a program or an app that tells you what you got. So there's times where I'd have doubles, but it was $10.
So out of Star Wars lines, I've noticed that Power of the Force and maybe the Episode 1 figures, for whatever reason, have stayed fairly around the same price from the time that they came out. Like the episode, you know, episode
Talking about
1.
Episode 1?
Yeah, Episode 1 figures. You can get a Darth Maul. I had one for like $8 to $10.
Do you know why?
Yeah, no.
The reason is when they first came out, you know, you've heard about back in '77 when they started merchandising on the little toy figures, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, they didn't want to have that on the reboot. So when they were bringing back Episode 1, they wanted to make sure they had enough toys because they were anticipating this is going to be the first Star Wars in 15 years, was it 83 to 99? So they just pumped the market full of this stuff. And then a lot of the kids weren't into it. You know, some of the collectors were, but there was more supply than demand.
Okay.
We could buy all the Power of the Force and the Episode 1s.
Yeah.
The Clone Wars, we can buy all those for $2 or $3 mint condition if you get them in a bulk.
Yeah. I actually knew that, but I thought there was another story to it.
No.
Yeah, I knew that they just pumped the heck out of them because I was like, that actually, believe it or not, my first figure that I started when I started collecting action figures was the Darth Maul Episode 1. I found it. It was like $8. I bought it after that and just, you know, yeah.
I've got all of them for Episode 1. The funny thing is there was one in there that was worth like $30. The what's his name? I think it was TC-14 and the other guy, the Bib Sibo. I'm not sure of his name, but when they came in the packs, he only came one per box, so he's very rare. So now that everybody's starting to collect him again, he's now like $30 or $40. All right, let's move to the next one. Like I said, when we go somewhere, Denny's cups. So Denny's cups, and then they did that one for Solo. And the lady was nice enough to give me that one, actually. She's like, we only got these ones left. And behind that is the cereal boxes that somebody had bought me. Those are actually cereal boxes with cereal in there. So if anybody opens it after so many years, guess what?
In case I would have eaten cereal and put the boxes up there, but I'm fat, so.
You know what? I don't eat a lot of cereal. And yeah, you're fat. This was the mail away for the Qui-Gon Jinn and the Yopi.
Okay.
So not a great display piece, but it was a mail away, and it was you know, shipping. So as a collector, it wasn't too bad. And I always did the mail away. So I have the Boba Fett and the.
I have both of the Melloway figures. The one with the little rocket that fires out.
Yep.
I got that one, and then the
George.
The one that
George Lucas and he's over here somewhere. There's the Boba Fett. That's the mail away.
Yep.
And Celebration one. And the other one was George Lucas as a stormtrooper, which is right there.
That one.
So I would, in fact, I think you had to buy the throwback cards. They were coming back with, what was it, the vintage? There's so many of them I can't even count anymore. And then here, I've got two of these things. Now this was Stitch is Yoda Hologram.
Oh yeah.
Not a lot of people know about these.
I remember they started doing some of the Disney characters.
They did, and I've got some of those up here. Actually, they're put away. I think I'm missing like a couple. This one was special for 2011 because that's when they redid Star Tours.
Mm-hmm.
Being a Star Wars fan, and I was living close to Disney at the time. Me and my son drove down to Anaheim the day they opened it, and they were selling these Yodas there. I saw them and I was like, ooh, this is kind of cool. Maybe I should get more than one. So I bought two. They only made 2011 of these things.
Oh, wow.
And they're numbered on the back.
Oh, look at that.
So they're numbered on the back, and there's only 2,000 of these things. They're not worth a lot, $60. There's not a lot of collectors out there for it, but I was with my son when we bought it at Disneyland on that day.
Nice.
It costs more to travel there to do all that stuff. Put this one back. The original 1977 disc. I know a lot of people like the original vinyls. This is not a reprint. It is actually from the 1977
Look at that.
figure. And I picked this up on eBay because somebody didn't know what they had. So it's got the original skins.
Nice. Vinyl's coming back, man. You can buy a record player at Target. You won't even put it on?
I probably will. I'm not the kind, I like quality, for the digital. To put it on there, I like old, I got rid of all my vinyl stuff when CDs came out, so now I gotta go buy all the vinyl again, apparently.
It's coming back.
Now the Ewok. We
did the Ewok.
I'm working my way back because as a kid, we moved around a lot. I mean, I never spent more than 1 year at school. So we were constantly moving between Vegas and California, and anybody that's ever had to move with their family knows the first thing that goes is the toys. So I had a lot of my toys were thrown away. We'll buy you more.
Never happens, by the way.
It never happens, by the way.
I know that for a fact.
Oh, it does, but I'm paying for it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how we all
I'm
became
buying back
collectors.
my childhood.
Yep.
So I've been buying backwards. So Jedi, I'm almost done with most of the Return of the Jedi. There's a couple in there that are in the, not in the great range, but it was cheap and it'll be used as a filler until I get something better.
Hold on, so these are the originals?
Yeah, those are.
I just kind of overlooked them as.
Yeah. So you notice that one? Now, like I said earlier, that's Zuckuss. Mm-hmm. Forloom is the. Mm-hmm. So they misprinted all these.
Nice.
So then they threw that back because they corrected them later on. Okay.
So that's got to be pricey, collecting backwards.
You can't eat an elephant in one sitting.
Right.
Everything but the tail. Yeah. Right. So what I'll do is I'll allot myself some money per. If there's nothing coming out currently with, say, the 6-inch series, I'll take $30-$40 and I'll put it to the side. Something comes out and I buy it, okay, whatever, and then I'll put another 30, and then I get to the saved up enough to where I buy what I want.
Gotcha.
That's why I don't have Vader. That's why I don't have Leia, and I don't have Luke, because those are $400 or $500 a piece. Yeah. And then usually I've got something else going on. So those are all original 1982 and 83 figures. Now below, in all these bins are all the actual 3 3/4 from 2010.
I see him. And you got him in Ziploc bags.
And desiccant. And I'll tell you about desiccant here in a second.
Yeah, that little stuff they put in the shoes, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, when you're collecting anything, really, if you're by the beach or I used to live in Georgia, real humid. Same thing in Southern California. It gets humid. When you store anything, if it's cardboard, you put it in a bag, you're holding that moisture in that thing. Here we don't really have that problem because 8 or 9%. What I was doing is when I started consolidating everything, putting it in bins, I was sucking the air out, but I was throwing in a little pack of desiccant. Now you can get these things industrial size, but the little things they put in sunflower seeds and pills and stuff, that's desiccant. All that does is draw the air out of, or draw the water out of the air and stores it in it. So I would take the desiccant, drop it in there, suck out the air, and then the bags are in a UV protected bag inside of a UV protected bin. So these will be good for decades because you're collecting, and I don't open, but somewhere down the line something may happen. You could get sick, somebody gets sick, heaven forbid, and you need to liquidate cash. This can be done pretty, not fast, but hopefully you have a long-lasting sickness that you can spread out some cash. But in 90 years when I pass on, I'll have something in pristine condition to give to the next person, whether it be family or some, friend. It'd probably be family, but it'll be at least a nice seed for them to have in mint condition, because there's nothing better than to open it up and go, wow, this is really cool. So all those, each one will holds about 125. I've got them stacked in such a way that, so the last count is I have 1,600 3 3/4 inch figures, including all these and everything.
All right, guys, I
else.
hope you guys enjoyed this collection. My man Rob's got a huge, impressive Star Wars collection. That took him how long?
I've been working on it for 15 plus years.
15 plus years. You can have something like this, a little bit of hard work, and money. Of course, money, lots of money. So. Dedication.
And don't open them, kids.
All right, guys. You guys enjoy.